I heard my daughter screaming before I saw the first one clawing at our window, and in that split second, I knew everything we'd done to keep our family safe had already failed. Just a few hours earlier, I was half watching a news ticker scroll beneath a rerun of Wheel of Fortune, distracted by bills spread out on our cluttered kitchen table. My job at the hardware store was barely enough to keep the lights on, especially with my wife still recovering from her surgery, her pain pills rationed tighter than the bread and milk in the fridge. My son, Sam, 14 and impossibly restless, had been grounded for skipping school again. Ellie, my youngest, was sprawled on the floor, coloring dinosaurs into a notepad she'd begged me to buy with loose change from the car's ashtray. Our biggest argument that morning had been whether we could afford Chinese takeout this weekend, if I could pick up an extra Saturday shift. My lower back was killing me from lifting stock, but I kept my mouth shut because Becky already felt guilty enough about being out of work. Now every second was freighted with a new kind of panic. The kitchen reeked of burnt toast and bleach. I'd tried to clean up the mess after Sam broke a glass, and now the counter was sticky, grit crunching under my sneakers. The house was too quiet after that first shriek. Then came the scratching, not frantic, but methodical. Like the thing at the window knew exactly what glass was and how much pressure it would take to crack it. It made a clicking sound in its throat, a weird off-key rhythm, almost like it was trying to mimic Sam's old fidget toy. I shoved the kids behind me, shouting for Becky, my voice already ragged from shouting at Sam earlier. My hands shook as I locked the deadbolt, though I knew because I'd installed it myself for $19.99 that it wouldn't hold. My phone was in my pocket, but my mind flashed to the charger I'd left at work, and the battery was redlining. I fumbled to check. 8%. Our emergency radio was somewhere under a pile of recycling. The kitchen drawer I yanked open only had a half-charged flashlight, the frayed wallet photo of my dad, grinning in front of his old fishing truck, and 2 AA batteries sticky with soda. The thing outside, its fingers were too long, like they'd been broken and reset wrong, bones jutting at odd angles. The eyes didn't blink. Its face kept twitching, jaw clicking out of sync with the sounds it made. Its shirt was stained, but it was wearing my neighbor's UPS jacket, Mrs. Gutierrez, who'd always slip Ellie little chocolates on holidays. Sam started to hyperventilate. The memory of my own first panic attack as a kid, trapped in our neighbor's basement during a tornado warning, flooded back and made my chest squeeze tight. But I couldn't freeze. Not now. I grabbed Sam's hand, then Ellie's, knuckles white around her pencil, and we backed into the hallway as the glass began to spiderweb. Becky stumbled from the bedroom, clutching her stomach, eyes wide. The siren outside cut out, mid-wail, like someone had yanked the plug. And in the new silence, something deep and guttural answered from somewhere behind our house. My legs threatened to buckle as I hustled everyone toward the basement door, my mind stuttering between memories of childhood tornado drills and the taste of metal fillings from gnawing on pens at work. The scratching behind us gave way to a single sharp crack, a sound too precise for an accident. I barely registered Sam's sweaty palm slipping from mine before the window shattered. Glass rained across the linoleum, tinkling against the mess of breakfast dishes I'd meant to wash hours ago. Sam froze, halfway down the hall, eyes glued to the thing wriggling through the window frame. Its movements made no sense, spine contorting with a hollow pop, limbs swinging behind it like loose wires. That same clicking noise again, echoing in our hallway. For a second, I remembered Sam at 6, clicking his tongue and spinning in circles when he got nervous. I shoved him hard toward the basement. "Move!" My voice came out too loud, scraping my throat raw. Becky limped behind us, holding her side. Ellie clutched her drawing pad, whispering the names of each dinosaur like a prayer. My key jammed in the lock. I remembered cursing that damn lock last fall when it stuck during a football game, promising I'd replace it. Now it wouldn't budge. I pounded it with the heel of my hand, every muscle in my back screaming, until it finally gave. The basement stank of must and wet cardboard, and my bad knee throbbed as I half-dragged, half-carried Ellie down the steps. Sam slammed the door, and Becky found the bolt with shaking fingers. For a moment, everything was muffled except Becky's wheezing. I pressed my ear to the door, sweat sliding into the ridge of an old scar on my knee from a bike crash in '93. Above, something was moving through the kitchen, not stomping, pausing, listening, almost polite. My heart pounded so hard it felt like the old fishing photo was vibrating in my pocket. Sam wanted to ask something. I could see the words forming, but he just stared at his hands, nails chewed to the quick. Becky's breaths sounded wet and sharp, each one tighter than the last. I reached for the shelf by the steps, fingers skimming over a box of Christmas lights, a half-empty bottle of allergy meds, and a rust-flaked crowbar my dad had left behind after his last visit. I gripped it so tight my palms started to sweat. Ellie's pencil snapped with a tiny, brittle sound, and she started to cry, not loud, but those hiccuping sobs that always broke me as a dad. I pressed her face into my chest, mouthing stupid promises. My phone buzzed, low and weak. I checked. A notification from the county emergency system, the screen flickering, unreadable, just static and garbled letters. Then the battery icon flashed and went dark. Above us, the footsteps stopped. The silence pressed in, heavier than the thunder I'd grown up fearing every spring. Then the basement light flickered, the old humming bulb overhead. The clicking started again, but now it sounded like it was coming from inside the walls, moving along the pipes. I counted every breath, wishing I could remember where I'd stashed the spare inhaler for Becky. In the hush, Ellie whispered, "Dad, why does it smell like pennies?" The metallic tang was seeping down the stairs. A voice from upstairs, cracked and wrong, started repeating the word hello, each time more distorted, as if it was winding itself up for something else. The basement window rattled behind us. We had to find another way out before the thing learned to open doors. I yanked open the old camping trunk under the workbench, the smell of mildew and mothballs flooding my nose. My hands fumbled through tangled tarps, the dented propane lantern, a roll of duct tape crusted with old glue. The emergency radio was missing its batteries, probably pilfered for a TV remote months ago. For a stupid second, I thought about the $10 bill I'd stashed in the back of the trunk, saved for pizza nights that felt a million years away. Sam hovered behind me, twitching at every noise, whispering questions I couldn't answer. How many were there? Was Mom okay? Did the neighbors get out? I pressed the crowbar into his shaking hands and forced my voice steady. If anything comes through that window, you swing hard. Don't wait for me. Becky tried to sit but doubled over, face white, a bead of sweat sliding down her temple. The scar from her surgery peeked out above her waistband, angry, red, unfinished. I knelt beside her, fighting down the panic. "You're bleeding?" She nodded, teeth gritted, more angry than scared. "We have to get you out of here," I whispered. "Up those stairs is death." Ellie pulled at my shirt, voice trembling. "Dad, listen." I froze. The clicking had changed. Now it scraped from inside the vents, metallic and arrhythmic. I pictured the thing writhing through ductwork, dislocating itself to fit where nothing living should. The smell of copper was sharper, burning the back of my throat. I tried the basement windows. The first was warped shut. The second, under the narrow stairs, budged just enough for my fingers to bleed on the jagged frame. Through the grime, I saw shapes moving outside, neighbors, or what used to be them, staggering through the yard. Their limbs jerked with unnatural precision like stop-motion puppets, heads snapping to the side in eerie sync every few seconds. Some of them grinned, mouths stretched far too wide, teeth bared before shuddering back to blankness. A burst of static crackled from the heating vent, then, impossibly, the sound of my old ringtone. It was the tune Dad set on his flip phone, years before he died, playing tinny and slow. "Pick up, please pick up." The voice wasn't his, but it tried to be, the words twisting, rising in pitch. My breath caught. I remembered the last real phone call I'd had with him, how I'd let it go to voicemail because I was tired, because I thought there'd be more time. The noise in the vents shifted, becoming frantic, scraping, like nails on tin. Something in the dark pressed against the vent cover, bending it outward, black liquid oozing onto the concrete. Ellie whimpered. Sam raised the crowbar, hands trembling. Outside, another siren started, lower and more distorted than before, echoing down the street. More shapes staggered into view, drawn by the noise, or by us. I dug my nails into the peeling paint on the window frame and forced it up another inch. "We're going through. Now, Sam, help me with Mom. Ellie, grab your backpack, quick." I stuffed Becky's pain meds and the flashlight into my pocket, heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst. Behind us, something began prying at the vent, metal shrieking as it peeled back. I hauled Becky toward the window, ignoring her gasp of pain. Sam braced himself to climb out first, and the second his feet hit the grass, the clicking from inside the walls turned into a wet, gurgling shriek. We had one shot before they heard. The second Sam's sneakers landed outside, he spun to help, eyes wild with fear. I boosted Ellie through next, her arms locked tight around her battered notebook. Becky braced herself against the wall, her breaths short and shaky, eyes clenched. My hand slipped under her arms and I heaved her up, pain lancing through my back. The sound behind us, metal ripping, something heavy thumping onto the basement floor, drove me harder. The moment I dragged Becky halfway through, her foot caught and she yelped. I yanked harder, ignoring everything except the cold air and the urgency in Sam's voice. "Dad, hurry." My hands were raw and slick with sweat and blood as I finally pulled her free. The thing inside let out a broken, glitched howl that rattled the pipes and seemed to shake the grass beneath our feet. Ellie was crying. Becky slumped on the lawn, one hand pressed to her wound. I scooped her up as best I could, gritting my teeth as pain shot up my spine. The street was chaos, figures moving in jerks, twitching to that off-kilter rhythm, gathering around porches and hedges, heads swiveling with that same unnatural snap. Some banged on windows, others just stared, listening. We bolted for the neighbor's backyard, Sam clutching the crowbar, his face streaked with dirt and panic. I remembered the side gate was always rusted shut, a stupid detail, but I'd cursed it so many times while mowing their lawn. This time, adrenaline took over. I slammed my shoulder into the gate and it gave with a screech, spilling us into the alley. I checked Becky, her breathing shallow, skin clammy. "Keep moving," I hissed, desperate not to look back. Ellie clung to me, her notebook pressed to my chest. Every street was crawling with them, the air filled with static and that copper stink. We moved behind fences, keeping low, following backyards where the shadows hit us. A shape lurched out from behind a shed, Mr. Kim, or what was left of him. His face twisted, mouth stretching wider than any living jaw. That same mock ringtone burbled up from his throat, garbled and broken. Sam swung the crowbar, hands trembling. The sound of bone cracking echoed in the dark, but the thing didn't fall right away. It reached, clutching at my sleeve, cold fingers scraping my skin. I shoved it off, heart slamming, and kept running. We reached the edge of the block, my lungs burning, knees on fire. For a second I saw our old minivan parked by the curb. The keys were still in my pocket, a weird habit that finally made sense. I shoved Becky into the back, Sam and Ellie piling in after her. The car reeked of old fries and spilled juice boxes, and my hands shook so hard I dropped the keys twice before jamming them in the ignition. The engine coughed, then caught. Shapes swarmed toward us, drawn by the headlights. Their faces twitched, jaws moving in that offbeat clicking pattern, lips whispering fragments of my name, over and over, each voice slightly wrong. I floored it. The car fishtailed down the block, bodies thumping off the bumper. In the rear view, I saw them scatter, but some sprinted, arms swinging like broken marionettes, legs moving with a speed that didn't match their twisted bodies. Becky pressed her head to the seat, whispering my name, and for a moment, I just drove, focusing on the road and the breathing of my family. My knee throbbed against the gas pedal. My hand still shook, the memory of those cold fingers and that warped, hollow voice burning in my mind. I tried not to think about tomorrow, or what new horror would wait around the next corner. We didn't have a plan. We only had each other. If you made it this far, you're part of our escape. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more stories that get under your skin. Stay safe out there, and whatever you do, don't ignore the sounds in your walls.